Beep beep, what is up ninjas? My name is Samuel and today we're going to be teaching you guys how to make kit style leads, but most importantly teaching you guys how simple it is so that you can make your very own kit style leads as well and maybe turn them around to make it your very own Samuel-ish lead or whatever your producer name is. Now in this video we're going to be discussing bit reduction plugins as well as how to program a similar lead like Kid. Now it's not going to be that difficult, but we are going to be discussing things like bit reducement as well as sample and hold and how it came to be. So make sure to stick around in this video so you can know how to make your very own Kid lead. And as always guys, if you want to support the channel, evilsounds.com is there for your needs. Check out the blog for more tutorial style if you're the type of guy that likes to read. And let's get started with this tutorial. Programming this lead is going to be very simple because we don't need to do anything crazy with the master amp envelope, which is usually going to be envelope 1 inside of Serum. There's going to be the envelope where you get a bit of attack. The master output is going to give the sound itself a bit of attack. The important thing here guys is that we do need to pick the right wavetable. So the kit sound is a very video game-ish type of sound which should instantly ring the bell of square waves. If you ever want to think about video games guys, think of square waves, think of triangle waves, and think of white noise like the Atari. For this tutorial we're going to be using a square wave, but keep in mind you can use various different variations of the square wave that you can find inside of Serum in the analog section. Just clicking there you're going to notice a lot of wavetables there. All of those wavetables are going to be analog based, which means they revolve around the sine wave, the triangle wave, you know, the square wave, the Q poles, the H poles, poles with variations of the square wave, and vice versa. Now this is where it starts to get interesting. If you want your lead to be wide, then you're going to have to go for more than one voice of unison. So you can choose to go up to 2 voices with a square root, let's say, and that will instantly make your sound more wide. So if you're looking for a wide lead, this is where you would do that. Now at the same time, in doing this, you're going to have access to detunement now because you're going to have 2 squares that you can detune differently from each other, and this will give you a closer sound to Kid as well. But just keep in mind that's what that is doing. It's getting the square wave, and detuning them differently. Maybe this one will go -10, this one +10, and you'll get sort of this nice detunement vibe that you tend to do when you make supersaws. And it's needed here, but very simply we can use the detunement knob. Now the blend knob right next to that is just the volume of the detuned sound. So if you're using something like 3 voices, you can lower the 2 detuned square waves and keep the one that stays the same at the exact pitch you're playing to be louder. That way you have sort of like this loud in key or in pitch, let's say, and then these 2 square waves that just got detuned a bit can get lowered in volume like so. And hopefully that helps. Very simple guys. If you want to add another sound as well, like another maybe saw wave or something to see if it will add anything spicy to the lead, you can use Oscillator B for that. But as of now, this is the standard programming of this sound and there's nothing else that we can do besides move on to the effects. Alright guys, so let's put everything together. Pick a analog based sound wavetable. We'll start with the square, and I suggest you do because it's the easier one and it's going to get you closest to that Kid sound. We're going to detune less. We can have 3 voices again so you can have control of volume. Just a square that's not detuned, and then you bring in the detuned squares with the blend. So you can kind of pick there your poison. Once we have that mono legato on the bottom right, so we can get those glides that Kid has. And that's how we're going to get that. Make sure you glide your notes there. Now, if you do want to add more things to this, you can make this sound a bit more mystical by adding release. A bit of attack for more of a flute-ish or pad-ish sound. And you can go from there. Another cool trick too is to add a vowel wavetable that you can layer with this guy with 8 voices detuned, and then you mess with the wavetable positioning on it with the triggers. With the mode on that LFO set to off, so it moves. Let's add a sine wave so it's more of a gradual thing. And that's pretty much about it if you want to keep this guy. And now we move on to the effects. Now the effects of this sound, guys, is very simple. It's a standard bit reducer. So in Silent 1, let's say you're using that, you're gonna go with a decimate style of distortion. In Serum, you're gonna go with the downsample type of distortion, which you can find. Now you have to be very careful with that drive knob, because the higher you put it, the more the sound gets reduced in bit. Think about this. This is the way I explain this effect. If you're playing on a PS4, the audio quality is just superb. It sounds amazing. Now go to the N64, where it has a lower bit rate in terms of the audio, and it sounds a bit different, and then go to Super Nintendo and Atari, and that's generally what's happening. You're literally changing the quality of the sound down to these kind of different bits, but sometimes artistically it sounds good. Now there's another way to also reduce quality. Let's say that you want to use a downsample, but then you want to distort afterwards inside of Serum. And the way you would do this is by using a sample and hold, which is something that comes from the analog world of synthesizers. Back then, if you had, let's say, a monophonic synth, which you could patch up, which, like this synthesizer here, it's a monophonic synth, but you can patch it in a way where you use a sample and hold. Now what the sample and hold would do is literally you set it up, you play one note, it gets stored inside of the synthesizers, and then when you play the next note, it plays that stored note. So you could easily make kind of sounding chords on a monophonic synth with this, but you can also route it in a different way where it kind of makes it so that the quality of the sound is reduced the lower something goes. So Serum has a nice sample and hold that you can use in order to get that bit reduction quality as well, and then you can hit it with another set of distortion if that's what you want to achieve a dirtier sound per se. So here we have the standard sound we made, guys. Now if you had that down sample, we do get that sound, but again, we also have access to this filter where we go into the MISC. We have a sample and hold, and then a sample and hold negative. Sample and hold, it's very experimental, because the way in filter in Serum that it works, it just acts sort of like a bit reducer. It doesn't give us that nice kind of sample and hold from the analog world, because we don't need it. Serum is a paraphonic synthesizer, or polyphonic if you want to say. I'm getting my terms mixed up there. But literally, in order to use sample and hold, we're just going to use it to the farthest right here, to use it as a bit, sort of a bit reducer. And now if you want to use distortion, like a different kind, to kind of add more of a hard vibe to the sound, you can. Let's be careful with these. That's just a little bit too overboard, but as you can see, it opens that possibility up if that's what we want from it. So that's how we would achieve the standard sound. And then from here, you know, we can just start changing the waves to different ones, like triangles. This will give us more of a, as you can see, more of a subby kind of mid-low kind of sound. But we can also distort the triangle and turn it almost into another square wave, as you can see, squaring it off with the diode 2. And get different variations if that's what we want. Now, I really want to get into bit reduction plugins, and there is one that I really like, which is the D16 Decimort. The D16 Decimort is kind of like a bit crusher, very similar to the downsample, except it's a little bit more complex in the sense that you can actually change various parameters of the downsample, and it also has a shit ton of presets for those of you guys that don't want to deal with that kind of stuff and you just want to make music. And with that being said, guys, that's going to be the end of the video. I hope that you guys enjoyed it, and if you guys have any more questions, just leave them down in the comments, tutorial suggestions. I always read them, and the ones that I can do, I always add them to a list where I'm like, I need to make this tutorial. With that being said, guys, as always, if you want to support the channel, you can hit subscribe and visit evilsounds.com for sound banks and all that, and I'll see you guys next time. You guys take care, and you guys have an amazing day.